Preparing your image to become a lithophane. Step 1, choosing your image. So, students, when selecting your image for your lithophane, it needs to be something extremely important to you. So the first thing is, it's probably not going to be one that you've taken with this. It's going to be coming, most likely, from your phone. So from your phone, the easiest way to get an image to yourself is to open the image in your gallery or in your film roll, whatever it's called now. Once the image is open in your gallery, you're going to share it to your Google Drive. If you have not downloaded the Google Drive app, you're going to want to do that either in the App Store or the Play Store if you're on an Android. So I'm going to select Share, and then I'm going to select Google Drive. You'll come up with something like that where it's saying that it's going to send it to your drive. Instead of sending it to just your drive, make sure that you're sending it to your photography class. That'll help your drive stay more organized. If you have an iPhone instead of an Android, your file will be a HEC file, .heic. That is fine. We just have to convert it. Please view the video on how to convert a file from .heic to .jpeg. Make sure that the image you choose is something personal to you. So, personal, not personal. Interesting, very cool image, not personal. More personal, probably more important though. So choose the image that best fits you. Now, I have these 3 images selected because I want to show you different things with them when we get to editing. But choose an image that is personal to you. Step 2, editing your image in Photoshop. So, students, now that you've selected your image that you're going to be using for your lithophane, I'm going to show you a couple simple steps for editing your image to make it a more successful print. The first thing that you need to do is think about whether or not your image is vertical, like these two, or horizontal, like this one. So with horizontals like this, you can actually leave it as is. You do not need to do the next step. With images that are vertical like this, they're actually better as a square. So you're going to come to your crop, which is right here, 5 tools down, selecting crop. You're going to change your ratio to a square, and then you're going to move this square to where it fits your image best. So I'm going to slide this up just a little bit so the kids are pretty central, as well as the wings centralized in this image. So once you have it and you're happy with the square, you're going to right-click and crop. Now, the other steps to this are any editing that needs to be done on this image needs to be done before it goes over into the lithophane. So my son here has a boba straw because we were at a boba. This is not something that I want in the image, so I'm going to actually clone stamp that out. So I'm going to take it. Clone stamp is going to allow me to select and crop in different textures and images in order to get that boba straw gone. The other thing that I would edit is his glasses and make his eyes a little bit more apparent with less glare. I'm not going to go into that now because it's a little bit more in depth of a process. So once you've gone and done all of your editing on this, you do need to change this into a black and white image. Simply put, you're going to add an adjustment layer. Select adjustment, come down to black and white, selecting black and white. You can actually then move your slide rules if you want to make areas darker or lighter. I want to make her sweatshirt a little darker. Okay. Make other things pop a little bit. So sliding those rules to adjust as needed. Okay. You also may want to add a brightness and contrast layer. Adding that here. Okay, you can select how much contrast you have in the image. Obviously, this is way too much. Subtle changes are going to be more appropriate for this assignment. So once you have all of your adjustments, you've done all of your editing, you're going to save this as a Photoshop file first, making sure to put your name, Lithophane, and then your class. So 3B, 4A, whatever. But save that as a Photoshop file first. I suggest you save it to your desktop. I'm going to save mine over to my downloads, clicking OK. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to export this as. I'm going to change my format to a JPEG, making sure that it's as high a quality as possible. For this one, you do not need to worry about saving your copyright and contact information, as this image is going to be used in the Lithophane creator. So you're going to export this to your downloads, selecting save. Now, that's the quick image. On these other ones, this one here, if I just wanted the flower, you're going to need to get rid of the background. Please see how to get rid of background, or you can select your object selection tool, selecting the object here, giving it a moment because this does take a second to render. It takes time. Still rendering. So now that I have this object select done, I can press Control-C, which is copy, unlock this layer, click beneath it, Control-V, which is paste, and delete my beginning layer, leaving just my flower. Now, this does leave your background as clear. That is not appropriate for a lithophane. You do need a background layer. So what you're going to want to do is come down on here, okay? You're going to add a solid color or a gradient to the background. So I'm going to add a solid color, choosing some sort of gray, thinking about dark and light, okay? That color fill right now is above my flower, so I'm going to move it below. Now I'm able to see that on there. Adjusting my black and white to all of the layers available. Okay, now that I see this here, I obviously am going to want to go in and change this color. I can do that simply by clicking on the color, sliding this up, making it lighter, darker, etc. I also am probably going to want to adjust my contrast like we did in the other image, making this a brighter image and more contrast. Now, this obviously is also not a square and it's not horizontal. So I do need to come back and crop, thinking about how that interacts with all the edges, right click and crop. Okay, so now this can be exported and used in a Lithophane. Obviously, this is not as special or important, so this would probably not be the best image for a Lithophane. This image here, though, it does not need to be cropped because it is horizontal. Horizontal is just fine. It does need the black and white layer. You can adjust your items here, thinking about what needs to be darker, what needs to be lighter. Okay, changing things as needed. You may need to adjust your brightness and contrast, adding that layer here, brightening up, or adding contrast. Export this image in order to use in the Lithophane Creator. So remember to export its file, export, export as. Make sure to save this first as a Photoshop file, which is under Save As. All of your assignments should be labeled your first and last name, Lithophane, and your class period and day. So 3A, 4B, etc. Step 3, using the It's Litho website to create your Lithophane. All right, students, now that you have your image created in Photoshop, you're going to bring it over to this website here. It's called itslitho.com. The link is also posted in Schoology. This is a free online site. So you're going to select Get Started. When you get started, it's going to pull you into a model already. Before you can start modeling your image, you're going to come to Upload, selecting Upload. You're going to add your image here. So we're going to upload an image, pulling this from your downloads or wherever you've saved that file. So this is the one that I've edited. Open. And it pulls open the image here. Now this is a square. Remembering that there are two different sizes, there's a square and a rectangle. I'm going to pull in an image that's a rectangle. Now, this image is not already edited in Photoshop, so I'm going to open this one as well. So we can look at both of those as we edit through. This one here is a lot more personal. This one's kind of funny, but probably not the best one for this final print. So we're going to start over here, clicking on this and editing this model. You're going to leave most of this stuff the same. You want it to be luminescence right here. You can adjust your brightness, contrast, and exposure, but that should have already been done in Photoshop. I am going to up my contrast just a smidge. So there we go. Everything else is completely fine, so I can leave now the edit area, moving over to model. On model, there's a few things that you're going to want to change in order to get your image correct. The first thing is right here under where it says shape. You're going to want this. So right now it's actually pulled both of them up together. So I'm going to go back over to upload and delete that for now. I'm going to come back over to my model and I'm going to select an arc. So arc is here. Your height, you want to be 130 millimeters. So I can either slide this over or I can select right there and type in 130. Your width is going to be determined by the shape of your image. The angle being 60 degrees is fine. Minimum thickness, so the MIN thick, being 0.8 is perfect. Maximum thickness, this is where you need to change it. It should be 4.5. If you want, you can put this as low as 4. Take a look at the examples in the classroom, but this number here should be between 4.5 and 4. So if you'd like it to be 4.2, you can. Okay. I highly suggest having a frame. With the frame, you do want the thickness of the frame to be 4.5. Okay, you do want the depth to be 4.5. The angle being 45 is fine. There are advanced things where you can take off different areas of the frame. I do not suggest you do that. So leaving your frame there. Right here is where you can check your quality. Okay, this is perfect. You do want a closed bottom, and your bottom thickness should be 4 millimeters. So if I look at my model now, it's a curve, it has a bottom, it has a frame. I can zoom in on the image. Now, this is very rough to look at, but that's because the preview is on low quality for speed. So if I wanted to look at this at a higher resolution, I could, knowing that it takes a moment to generate that lithophane in order to see all the details. So much better image, showing everything with a nice density. There are other options and things like that, but these are the things that you need to really make sure that are correct. So you need an arc at 130 millimeters for your height. Your maximum thickness should be between 4 and 4.5. Your minimum thickness should be 0.8. You should have a frame that's 4.5 thick and 4.5 deep. The angle being 45 is fine. Your quality options should be 0.1, and you are doing a closed bottom. Once you have this, please show Ms. Kupis your settings just to make sure that everything is right. You will not be able to change it afterwards. So this is extremely important that this is correct. You're now going to download the image by pressing the download button. Okay, you'll get this little pop-up that basically says, thank you for using this free site. And then you're going to download your Lithophane. That's the first one here on top. Creating your download. Waiting till this is done. Download is ready. Now, if I look here in my downloads, you will have seen it popped up at the top, but I can also check my File Explorer here, Downloads, and you'll see that this is an STL file. It also is named everything that you named it in Photoshop. So this is the file here that needs to get submitted in Schoology. STL file, it's named what you named it in Photoshop. Yours should be your first and last name, litho or lithophane, and then your class period and day. So 3A, 4B, etc., whatever that is. Hopefully this helps. If you need assistance, always ask.